I won't introduce myself. I'm the next speaker, so I'll spare you the encomiums. Just let me remind you that before my time at Rockefeller, I was president of the University of Pennsylvania at a time when we led a pretty significant transformation of the urban neighborhood adjoining our campus. And so as a passionate devotee of cities, but also as an academic, I love the idea of an ideas festival. And you're going to be exploring incredible things all this week, from how to reduce dependence on oil to using art as an instrument for social change, to maybe the most burning question of all, and that is, will the Cubs ever win the World Series? Maybe not at this event. But I would like to share a few ideas with you, not about the future of baseball in Chicago, but the future of cities around the world. Because as I said in my opening comments, cities really are our future, and that's very clear. In the developing world, 1 million people move into cities every 5 days. Think of that. By the time this Ideas Festival is over, there will be 1 million more people in cities in the developing world. By the year 2050, 3/4 of the global population will be urbanized. So it really is no exaggeration to say that the future of cities really will determine the future of our humanity. And it is also clear that all of these people in dense urban areas around the world will pose mind-boggling challenges. Global urbanization also offers an unprecedented opportunity for future generations, which I'll get to in a few minutes. But first, let me go back a few generations. About a half a century ago, America's greatest architect, Frank Lloyd Wright, unveiled a proposal for the world's tallest building. It was to be built near here on the Chicago lakefront, with a foundation that was to be sunk 150 feet into bedrock to support the building's astonishing 520 stories. The building wasn't merely a skyscraper, it was really a stratosphere scraper, at twice as tall as the Burj Khalifa. It was a mind-boggling idea, the architectural embodiment of a more civilized urban future. With this towering project, Frank Lloyd Wright thought he was going to be solving many of the problems of the 20th century city. Obviously, the mile-high rise would cost a great deal, but it would have 100,000 people accommodated in 18 million square feet, which he believed would really, in fact, be the cheapest real estate in the world. He also thought that it would solve the problems of growing urban sprawl and the problems of urban transportation. 2 years later, he died, and so his dream died along with him. But new designers followed him, new dreams and new ideas. And they have completely reconceived urban environments. So now we see cities like London, which is striving to make urban renewal the real winner of the 2012 Olympics. In the city's rundown East End, the stadiums are giving way to schools, arenas are being converted into affordable housing, and thousands of new jobs are slated to come into the neighborhood. We see Rio de Janeiro, a city known for its spontaneity and revelry, partnering with IBM to streamline its emergency response services and other city services. New state-of-the-art systems are being introduced to help monitor weather and traffic, which will greatly improve response times and the quality of life in Brazil's frantic metropolis. We see a new city springing up wholesale in the desert of Abu Dhabi, a city that will be zero carbon and zero waste, drawing its energy from solar power and other alternative energies. Its name, Masdar City, literally means source city, and it will most definitely be a source of inspiration for other high-tech urban projects. In Beijing and Incheon, commuters will be sped home quickly, floating on maglev rails. These are the cities of the future. They don't have mile-high skylines like Wright imagined, but they have mile-high ambitions. And they're being implemented successfully because they understand all that cities can offer its citizens and vice versa. Mobility for the poor, cheap, abundant energy for all, shared prosperity and growth, empowerment. At Rockefeller, we see this vision. We seek to transform cities not just into smart and sustainable and technologically innovative urban areas, but to transform them into accelerators of resilience and equity and inclusion. That means catalyzing all kinds of networks of stakeholders and institutions and amplifying how civic and business and government support really works. 50 years ago, when people like Frank Lloyd Wright envisioned the future of the cities, they imagined super-physical structures. Here in the 21st century, I would say we're envisioning the future of super-social structures. And in this emerging urban space, every inhabitant is an architect. That may seem like some kind of urban utopia, but it is not. Let me offer just two examples of the voices that, through technology and sheer tenacity, are already beginning to reshape the contours of urbanization. There's a Kenyan slum we work in, and just to confuse you, it's called Kosovo, where residents for years have been ignored and mistreated. When the Nairobi City and Water Sewage Company found illegal water hookups, for instance, they simply cut off the water and electric services. But they had never sent bills because no one in the slums has an address. They weren't displayed on a map, so the government could literally act as if they didn't count. Then the slum dwellers began to organize, and with Rockefeller support, they conducted their own census. They forced government to count them for the first time. And then they demanded formal connections to the water hookup, and they organized street committees to ensure that everyone paid their fair share. As the years unfolded, they became the social architects of their own urban future. These slum dwellers are proving that even the most disenfranchised urban communities can creatively join together and upend entrenched systems and hold leadership accountable and bring stakeholders together, facilitating the spread of new ideas and new ways of working. Here's a different example of citizens as urban architects. Recently, we funded the creation of wildly creative online design platforms so that ordinary urban residents can reconceptualize and recreate their own urban environments. One of them, a multiplayer open source platform called Betaville, allows anyone to experiment with and execute on new urban designs. For instance, a particularly ambitious project is sketching a blueprint for extending the tip of downtown Manhattan by adding mixed-use buildings and adding rooftop parks to the Statue of Liberty ferry terminal. It's like Sim City, but with pretty incredible real-world implications. In the word of Betaville's creator, Carl Skelton, the future of a street corner, a blank wall, a vacant lot, can now be tinkered with on an ongoing basis at negligible cost by the people who know what it is most like to live there, the people who know how to make new things happen, and people with great ideas to share anywhere in the world, wherever they care to. These are just a few examples of work to empower and uplift cities and their inhabitants, work that really does exemplify this Ideas Week, which brings me back to where I started, an idea that was captivating but never consummated, Frank Lloyd Wright's Mile High Wonder. Wright once said that ideas are salvation by imagination, and while you won't see any 528-story buildings when you walk outside, you will see urban entrepreneurs everywhere, seizing Chicago and cities around the world with that same spirit of salvation by imagination. I guess you could think of them collectively as Frank Lloyd rewrite. Together, all of us are rewriters. We're all redrafting the blueprint and re-envisioning what the futuristic urban landscape will look like. And we're just beginning to dig the foundations and raise the frames of the city of the future. Because for all of our urban challenges, they are no match for minds that think mile high, whether it's Kenyan slum dwellers or New York designers. Great cities are being built, being designed by people, supported by and connected by really strong social superstructures. That's the message I'd like you to take away. Thank you.